Good morning. Today is the 19th of August, 2026. This is the Defense Porch Bars Brief, your daily roundup of the latest defense, intelligence, and international security news. I'm Stuart Webb, and here are today's top stories. President Trump stated that there are no current talks with Iran and no talks planned. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. Iran says it is still open to talks, but it says its position is that the U.S. has to agree to its terms. Reports indicate that Russia has been supplying Iran with drone components and ammunition since the beginning of the U.S. war with Iran on the 28th of February. This should come as no surprise, as Russia upgraded the designs of the original Iranian Shahed drones and has been sharing its developments on the design with Iran. Russia once relied on Iran's production of the drones, but has since built its own drone factories. The transit route through the Caspian Sea is secluded to only Russian and Iranian activity. Reports indicate that Iran is considering cutting the fiber optic sea cables in the Strait of Hormuz if the conflict escalates. There are also suspicions that Iran might attack Bulgaria, which recently authorized U.S. aircraft to refuel as Besmir Air Base, and Cyprus, where a British air base was hit by a drone in March. Attacks on either country could escalate the war further by drawing in other European countries. The UAE halted all trade and commercial exchanges with Iran. This was done after the UAE detected 2 ballistic missiles being fired at the country yesterday, something which Iran denies. A vessel was struck by multiple unknown projectiles 40 nautical miles southeast of Yemen's port of Mocha. Although Mocha port is under government control, it seems that Houthi missiles or drones were able to target the ship. The ship has been declared a constructive total loss. In Syria, the International Atomic Energy Agency found several tons of nuclear material. The al-Assad government ran a clandestine nuclear program, which included a reactor built by North Korea in the eastern Deir al-Zor province. Interim President Ahmed al-Shara pledged full cooperation with the UN watchdog and gave its inspectors access to suspected nuclear sites. Moving on to the Russia-Ukraine war, President Zelensky formally nominated the acting defense minister, Yevhen Khamar, a former top SBU officer, to serve as minister in full capacity. Former defense minister Mikhailo Fedorov called on the government to find a way to hold elections during wartime, something which is precluded in wartime due to the constitution. Fedorov argues that Russia should not be allowed to determine when Ukrainians can elect their government. Ever since Zelensky formally removed Fedorov as defense minister, Ukrainians have protested, and Fedorov has continued to apply political pressure. Russia's central bank reports that billions of rubles have been withdrawn each month since the beginning of the year. It is believed that Russians withdrew over 24.4 billion euros worth of rubles out of fear that Ukrainian drone strikes could destabilize the financial system, and that the Russian government might move to seize or freeze deposits to cover mounting war costs. The United States has imposed sanctions on the International Criminal Court's President Tomoko Akani and the ICC's senior trial lawyer Abdoulaye Saeed. The U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio called the ICC a corrupt and fatally politicized supernatural court that has maliciously abused its authority and exceeded its mandate. The International Criminal Court has been investigating potential crimes against humanity conducted by Israel during its war on Gaza. Israel intends to request information about Boeing's 6th-generation aircraft, the F-47, for the Israeli Air Force. The F-47 is named for the 47th U.S. President, Donald Trump. There have been export limitations on the F-22 for years, but there have been signals that Japan might be allowed to participate in the F-47. The F-47's first flight is expected in 2028. Moving on to Germany, a German court sentenced a 30-year-old Ukrainian man to 1 year and 3 months in prison for carrying out a Russian sabotage plot. The man was convicted of sending parcels from Germany to Ukraine using a Ukrainian parcel service, with GPS trackers embedded in the parcels. The idea was to reveal the precise transport routes and pass the information on to Russian security services. Croatia arrested a second suspect in the Nord Stream pipeline sabotage. A Ukrainian man, wanted by German authorities, only known as Vladimir Zed, is described as a trained diver who participated in the necessary dives. Vladimir Zed will be transferred to Germany, where he will face trial for jointly causing an explosion, anti-constitutional sabotage, and the destruction of buildings. In Ethiopia, the Tigray Liberation Front claimed that the Ethiopian government launched a drone attack. According to the TPLF, a drone hit a farmer training center in Dandera village, some 15 kilometers outside the state capital, Mekelle. The Ethiopian army has not commented on the purported attack. In Somalia, fighting continues in Baidoa between the Somali army and fighters loyal to the former state president Abdelaziz Laftagarin. The Somali army accused Laftagarin's forces of fighting alongside with al-Shabaab. Hospital officials report that nearly 100 people were wounded in the latest violence. And that concludes today's Wars Brief. If you found this useful, subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and visit defenseportal.com for analysis on these topics and more. And until next time, have a good day.